Well, I think this picture has reappeared many times, and it has, well, to do with public spending. Public procuring makes a big portion of public spending, of course, and, well, I want to cite this guy as a very important guy. He was one of the greatest economists of the 20th century, and how he described public spending. Well, he said that, well, you can look at the lower right corner, which says that public spending, in other words, is just nothing more than when you don't economize, for example, when you spend someone else's money on someone else's needs, right? You don't economize and you don't seek the highest value. So this is the issue we have to deal with. Oops. Yeah, and just we have to talk a little bit about some statistics, some basic statistics about public procurement. Well, it's a huge sphere. Annual global spending on public procurement is estimated to be some 9.5 trillion. Well, these are basic statistics, of course, but I think still it's important, you know, because we have to have a general picture in mind all the time, not to miss forest for trees. So, 25% of global procurement spending is like it makes up like 25% of budgets of the global spending around the world, and as it is estimated, some 10 to 25% of procurement worldwide is kind of wasted in corruption and fraud. So we have to bear this in mind. Well, what are some common corrupt practices in procurement? What is bribery? Well, this is just like basic information, maybe very simple information, but still I think we have to return to that information to bear that in mind. It's bribery, bid rigging, fraud, collusion, nepotism, extortion, patronage system. Yeah, and of course, throughout the procurement cycle, there are a myriad of integrity risks, and as basically the public procurement cycle consists of three major phases. It's a pre-tendering phase, tendering phase, and post-tendering phase. And of course, they consist of their own categories. For example, in pre-tendering phase, we have needs assessment, planning and budgeting, definition of requirements, and choice of procedures. Of course, there can be challenges in terms of integrity risks there, as well as in tendering phase, which consists of invitation to tender, to evaluation, and to award phase, and the so-called post-award or post-tendering phase, which is like contract management and order fulfillment and payment. Well, of course, there can be problems in relation to all of those phases. And, for example, in pre-tendering phase, we might have poor or lack of adequate planning, or, for example, we might have tailoring of some specs to certain companies, or in tendering phase, we might have some conflict of interest, and in post-tendering phase, we might also have some inadequate follow-up of the projects. Well, and since, this is like, since public procurement is kind of threat to and is very susceptible sphere for corruption, there are some recommendations which are made by major international organizations, anti-corruption organizations, for example, OECD, which they are recommending like holistic approach. I mean, since public procurement is quite a complex phenomenon, there can be just one favorite approach. The approach should be holistic. And this is what they're recommending. For example, OECD recommends some mutually supportive principles for preventing corruption and stimulating good governance and accountability in public procurement. Well, those principles are integrity, transparency, stakeholder participation, accessibility, e-procurement, and oversight and control. And exactly to address those challenges and to kind of embody them and to implement them, we, IDFI, in 2016 developed a transparent public procurement rating, which is a public procurement rating system used globally, and it was created to facilitate public procurement reform internationally. It is done, it is a very useful tool which performs assessment of public procurement legislations to push for public procurement reforms. Well, the final goal is to push for the introduction of efficient, accountable, competitive, and transparent procurement systems. And of course, we believe that establishing such well-functioning procurement system is essential towards mitigating corruption risks. So what I wanted to stress on, what was the major aim and goal of creating such methodology and such rating system? There have been ideas here that there exist several rating systems and several methodologies, and the methodologies are as good as they are working. You know, there could be different approaches, and that is what I was mentioning about, that the approaches could be quantitative, approaches could be qualitative. So I think we have to strike the right balance and have right methodology and right criteria in place. I think exactly that was taken in mind when the methodology was developing, and with this idea in mind, IDFI decided to create this methodology. So it's not very specific, not very quantitative, and on the other hand, it makes enough stress on qualitative approach as well. So the methodology itself, well, it uses a unique methodology for evaluating procurement legislations, developed by IDFI based on best international standards, those of GPA, World Trade Organization, OECD, EBRD, EU, OECD, and as Georgi mentioned, a lot of experts and procurement specialists were involved in developing this methodology. It contains 64 indicators measuring transparency, efficiency, accountability, and competitiveness. Well, it covers all the major components of any public procurement system, and it also has gained a degree of international recognition. Council of Europe dedicated a paper called Corruption Risk Assessment in Public Procurement. Well, it has a dedicated website. The address of the website is tpp-rating.org. Well, as you see on the picture, you can see the picture from the website, which shows kind of the rating. The countries are aligned and grouped according to values and according to procurement process. It enables comparison of countries, identification of key problems, and formulation of specific solutions. And the very important point of this methodology is that it harnesses the spirit of competition. Well, here some of the speakers have mentioned about the competition. Well, you know, some of them think that competition, in certain cases, it can be relevant, in other cases not. But still, we think, IDFI believes that to kind of harness this, this power and the spirit of competition among the countries is very important. Because in a certain sense, our methodology, how to tell it, it uses the strengths of the opponent. So when you want to advocate for a positive change, first of all, you identify the problems, and then when you go to a target country where you want to advocate for positive change, of course you can cite the results and the achievements of the best performing countries. And I think it has effect. Because, for example, if other countries or the country where you're working or the country whom with you're working sees that those challenges and those problems have been overcome in other countries or in neighboring countries or in regional countries, I think it instigates the feeling of competition. So if he did, why cannot I do? So I think this is an important point, and I think we have to kind of we have to kind of use it for advocating for better changes in our favor. Well, the rating results are updated every 2 to 3 years. Oops, sorry. Well, besides assessment of legislative framework and public procurement legislations, of course it's not enough. I mean, TPPR has constantly increasing its network internationally. And for example, when TPPR was launched in 2016, it just included 6 countries: Georgia, Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. But very soon it acquired recognition, and the network expanded sufficiently. And now it consists of 33 countries across 5 continents. For example, in Africa, some additional 14 countries are working on evaluation of methodologies right now, and I think maybe within a couple of months they will finish the assessment of their methodologies, and they will be added to the rating. Two words about advocacy results. Of course, only evaluation of methodologies is not enough, because TPPR was, from the very beginning, it was kind of planned as a very strong advocacy platform and advocacy instrument. IDFI works with partner organizations in each target country, so they work together, and by using TPPR rating and by using the methodology, they identify weak points and so flaws in the methodologies, and it helps them to kind of identification of weaknesses and flaws helps the partner country and IDFI together to negotiate with the government stakeholders about the changes which are necessary. So there have been very successful advocacy visits to Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, to Armenia, Lithuania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and one of the good achievements, recent good achievements, is that procurement reform is underway in Costa Rica. And here we have dear panelists and dear guests who will be speaking about their achievements in their own countries. And I think this methodology is very important in terms of that it kind of helps to create a good story, you know, in different countries. Maybe the whole idea of this methodology is that maybe it's not very detailed in its nature, but I think it, as I already mentioned, it strikes a right balance between a quantity and a quality. So it's easier to understand, it's easier to digest, and I think it's a very good starting point to effect real positive changes. So our dear panelists, who are representing those countries where quite significant and positive changes have happened, will have an opportunity to speak in more detail about those changes. Well, I think that's it for the TPPR as it is, and I would like to ask my first question to Khrystyna Zelinska from Ukraine. Khrystyna?
Yes.
Khrystyna represents Transparency International Ukraine. Since 2016, there have been several changes in public procurement legislation. Could you please give us a brief overview and talk a little bit about what those changes were, what were the nature of those changes, and so where is everything heading? In the positive direction or more in the negative direction?
Hello, everybody. Maybe a story in Ukraine about ProZorro and public procurement reform is one of the best window of opportunities that we had chance to fly through. And thank you. Public procurement system development started back in 2014 when the group of volunteers, after Revolution of Dignity, suggested to implement the electronization of process of public procurement. And Transparency International Ukraine was that organization that administrated, supported, and developed this system. And after that, we successfully transferred it to Ukrainian government. So actually, in 2016, or if to be correct, at the end of 2015, Ukraine had strong electronic procurement system, new law on public procurement, and what's the most maybe important, the new equal rules in this game. Today we have great achievements. Thankful for Golden Triangle partnership between business representatives, civic society, public authorities and government. We had great achievements like today near 4 million tenders are conducted through ProZorro system, and more than 96 billion hryvnias, it's more than $4 million of United States, are saved through electronic auctions. So in 2016, Ukraine was on the top of transparent public procurement rating, and we were the first. We had 86.2% from 100 possible, and maybe a lot of us think that here is enough for us. But actually, as I'm not mistaken, Moldova last year or this year gains more points than we, and in the same time, it also stimulates us to do better in public procurement reforming. And if you're talking about different ratings or evaluations, doing business, the Corruption Perceptions Index, or Happiness Index, or TPPR, they shows us that the best thing that people, one of the best things that people came up with is competition. So competition, the best way to advocate changes. And from the last 3 years, for the last 3 years in Ukraine, there were some changes in legislation and in the work of electronic system. So it's like I see these changes. In 2016, we had good, strong, maybe central database, good, very user-friendly website, ProZorro, state-owned enterprise, ProZorro, and a lot of information we was able to find in this procurement system in 2016, from the planning till the contracting the winner of the electronic auction. But during these 3 years, there were 2 times when Ukrainian legislation in public procurement was changed. The first time in 2018, when the previous parliament of Ukraine voted for the implementation of corruption prevention in public procurement, when State Audit Service from their own account in e-system can do monitoring online before the end of tender contracting. And the another changes was voted by new Parliament of Ukraine just 2 months ago in September 2018 that mostly harmonized Ukrainian legislation with directions of European Union and also the best practices in public procurement all over the world. And we digitalized more information in the system, and as I hope, these changes will help to increase the efficiency in Ukrainian public procurement. So before this panel, we decided to make a new assessment according to TPPR, and according to this, in 2016 we had 86.2%, and they gained to 97 and 84% because there are a lot of changes in the legislation and a lot of changes in the e-system. So it's maybe near 10 points in rating, and I decided to show you one maybe the most important for me and for civil society, as I am representative of civil society. Whistleblower protection. This indicator is one of the, for me, personally, one of the top of indicators in this rating. On the slide, you can see the photo of one of the famous Ukrainian whistleblowers. She is the judge of one of the local courts in Ukraine, regional courts in Ukraine, Judge Larisa Golnik. She and her husband was attacked in just 2016 or 2017, and we connected it with her publication on the internet, the video, when the mayor of the city Poltava tries to negotiate with her to closure at the administration proceeding against him. And why it's very important in public procurement. According to European Commission survey in 2017, in public procurement, whistleblower protection helped to save from near 6 to 9 to more than 9 billion euros in public procurement. Corruption prevention. That changes about what I was talking about. In 2019, we were advocated as TI Ukraine with Ministry of Economic Development, Trading and Agriculture of Ukraine, State-owned enterprise Prozoro, and another our partners NGO from the Zoro community to implement such new type of financial controlling from the most important in Ukraine state financial control body, State Audit Service of Ukraine. So today they have their own account on Prozoro. They have special departments for do this prevention, the corruption and wasting budget funds, money of taxpayers of Ukraine, during the procedure online. So you can find just in 2 clicks on Prozoro system, on official website, what the tenders are very risked or has potential violations. You can find also the decision about starting to do this monitoring by State Audit Service and conclusion about whether there are violations or not. And also all this information about online monitoring in procurement are in machine readable and free charge access. Also, in Ukraine is the opportunity for bidders to appeal the complaints to the Anti-Monopoly Committee of Ukraine if they see some discrimination in tender documentation, if they disagree with the decision of tender committee about winner of the tender. Today, these decisions and all the process, all the information about reviewing these complaints are also in electronic machine-readable format. And today, it helps to create something new IT tools for investigations, analyzing, make decisions for public procurement bodies and entities, for civic society, mass media, or financial control bodies. And here is a photo of a screen of one of such IT tools that was developed by representatives of civil society and business. They create instrument that helps to compare different complaints of Anti-Monopoly Committee according to some discrimination in tender documentation, and you can just in 2 seconds find some practice of Anti-Monopoly Committee. Also, we as TI Ukraine, we understand that procurement system is not all the infrastructure of public procurement. If you want to have efficient infrastructure of public procurement, if you want to have really excellent goods or I don't know, works, we need to provide instrument for monitoring by civil society and not only. So we as organization, we have very famous, maybe not only in Ukraine, project that named Dozoro. Dozoro is translated in Ukrainian like watching by somebody. Dozor. And we, in the frame of this project, we develop and support 3 very important for all the sphere of public procurement in Ukraine analytical tools. First of them is business intelligence model, is a public analytical model for different, maybe for everyone. It has different dashboards, and it can show you different tendencies in public procurement in Ukraine, and you can find from the huge data only that information that you watched for. Also, we had professional business intelligence model that is used by National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, Prosecutor Office of Ukraine, different investigators, that helps to work with data more correctly. And also we provided just 2 years ago medical business intelligence model that analyze procurement only in healthcare sphere.
Khrystyna, may I ask a question? I mean, what is the difference between public and professional modules? I mean, is professional more detailed and gives possibility to...
It's detailed, and it has license for users. We have only it built on click view, and public model is built on click sense. So it has some difference between using them, and professional model is more detailed, and it can be understandable for not everybody, but for people who understand all the process of public procurement, all the tendencies, all the stages in procurements, etc. So as TI Ukraine, we often work in this sphere. We understand the necessary of building the civic monitoring tools of building of civic monitoring community, and we understand how it's too important to develop and implement some changes that can increase efficiency in public procurement. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I would like to pass on to Chingiz. Chingiz, in Kyrgyzia, there have been important changes, right? Especially through the advocacy works together with IDFI in 2018, and then I think in 2019 there were advocacy visits, and there were meetings with government stakeholders, right, to advocate for the better change in the public procurement system. And the government, after those visits and after those advocacy attempts, took commitments, right? Made commitments to change the public procurement, to make changes in their public procurement system, and kind of include them in the OGP National Action Plan. So, what has happened since then, and how's the process is going, and if there have been changes, and if the government has been compliant with those commitments? Could you please tell us your story in Kyrgyzstan?
Thank you. First of all, I have to say that it is my first time when I make presentation in English in my life. That's why maybe I will use a little bit my grip. In this photo, you can see that 6 days ago, I participated a peaceful meeting in Kyrgyzstan. It was related with corruption in customs area. And you can see that in this banner was written that Kyrgyzstan is not a poor country. Kyrgyzstan is a robbed country. So I'm fully want to support this initiate. So I think the procurement system is also one of the instruments to rob our budget. In past 2 years, we began to work with IDFI, and I would like to, I'm very appreciated that they developed instrument, methodology to assess legislation related with public procurement. And in first step, civil society provided analysis of risks in procurement system, and our analysis was used in a program which was adopted by Minister of Finance for improving the public procurement system. And in this program was put some measures related with reforming of legislation on public procurement, and also improvement of procurement portal. But I have to mention that this kind of measure was like division. There was no certain recommendation which kind of changes has to be put it in law on public procurement. But in spring 2018 was assessed TPPR for Kyrgyz Republic, and so we realized that our legislation is not good. For example, tender phase and post-tender phase is we have many gaps in our legislation. So using TPPR assessment in October 16 was approved by government resolution, national action plan within the open government partnership. And we initiated commitment to increase the transparency of public procurement. And we used TPPR assessment. So this commitment was approved by government, and then it was very surprised for me that in September 13, 2019, it's 2 months ago, by government decree was approved action plan on combating corruption for 2019-21, and there was used measures from commitment on public procurement, which was a part of a national action plan. So I understood that our initiative, our civil initiative, was created political will to make procurement system more accountable and transparent. So I think it is one of good indicators. And by mid-December 2019, it will take about 2 weeks. We will try to finalize draft new law on public procurement. I think it would be the first time in Kyrgyz Republic when civil society will prepare pro bono new law on public procurement, and this draft law will be considered by the government. So I think it is one of good practice in Kyrgyzstan. Then, after assessing TPPR for Kyrgyzstan, you can find these tasks on the website, TPPR website, and you can see that in green color we mentioned that these tasks was realized in Kyrgyzstan. For example, was developed several modules for handling complaints. We had several procedures that didn't there was no functions, yes, no models in our web portal, and then was developed electronic catalog that would help to small and medium enterprises to participate in procurement, and it will help rise competition in procuring system. And also within the project of EBRD, it is developed BI module. Our colleague told that about BI Prozoro. So in Kyrgyzstan, near future will be the same module implemented in our country, and also would be opened API. I hope that our department will open API. But we have really big problem with post-tendering phase because in our law on procurement there is no any article about post-tendering phase. For example, it could be signed contract. It could be signed contract, and we have article on it. But then, for example, about payments and so on, there is no any word about it. So the draft law, which would be developed in 2 weeks, I think we will manage to solve this problem. So we will write an articles related with post-tender phase. As you see, nowadays we have about 27 dashboards related with BI tool, and also our department is going to integrate procurement portal with information system of several government bodies. For example, nowadays our portal is integrated with information system of tax service, also social fund, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Finance, its treasury. For example, within 3 months of 2019, about 106,000 certificates, it's справка об отсутствии задолженности, was issued by tax service. So, for example, every every supplier has to wait for 3 days to have this certificate. So today they can like electronically to approve that they have no any задолженности. Debt. Then in 2020 and 21, we are going to realize 3 steps. First one is promotion of the new public procurement law. I think we will manage to make amendments in our law till the end of 2020. So step 2 is we would like to create a community of professional public procurement observers from representative of civil society. So that's why I asked Victor, is it possible to develop toolkit to monitor the public procurement and maybe have good practices from all over the world, and maybe it would very useful for us and to make monitoring more professional. Then step 3, we would like to help to our department on procurement, disclosure of all public procurement data in machine-readable formats, starting from procurement plans and ending with payments made. So it's our main steps which we want to realize. And also I would like to how to say I think that example of Kyrgyzstan, it seems to me, is one of good examples of using the result of TPPR assessment in real practice. And the main benefit of TPPR is that the methodology allows you to clearly identify the pain points in the public procurement system, болевые точки, да? And I hope that IDFI that will continue to further promote TPPR globally within the OGP. And I hope that TPPR will become a globally recognized tool like the Open Budget Index, which was ranked in 115 countries in 2017. So I think our example shows that this methodology is very useful to find main gaps in procurement legislation. So thank you.
Thank you, Chingiz. There has been a mention that methodology is as good as it is. I mean, it is as good as far as it is working. So we're really glad to see that this methodology has impact all over the world. And as I have mentioned before, some new countries are being added to the rating system. Right now, for example, some 14 countries in Africa. Africa has been very active recently. They are working on the assessment of their public procurement legislations, and as soon as they have finished it, of course, they will be edited and they will become part of the global network. So, of course, we're very proud that the network is expanding, and we think that both through cooperation and competition, we can achieve very good results. Yeah, it has been mentioned here that maybe just competition is not enough, but I think still there are times for when competition is effective, and there are times when cooperation is effective. So there has to be some balance between them, you know, because our life oscillates between competition and cooperation. Okay, thank you very much. I will pass on to Septimius. I think Septimius has... Yeah.
I prefer going to the...
Okay. All right, please. I think Septimius has to share with us some interesting ideas about the situation in Romania and to talk about clientelism. And about its connection maybe with TPPR, right?
Yeah, sure. Hello. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. And thank you for the presentations. Actually, I learned a lot these 2 days. My presentation will combine the TPPR and a program that we at Expert Forum have developed since 2011. So I will put in balance the theoretical part with the very practical aspects of procurement in Romania. I will start by telling you some things about TPPR. I will the general aspects of our program on political clientelism, and I will show you some very specific things that we research and how is political clientelism related to procurement. Just 2 words about Expert Forum. So we are a think tank from Bucharest, but we don't work just in Bucharest. We work mostly on good governance. We work a lot in the region, also in the Balkans, in the Caucasus. We try to expand our methodology and the things we want to research in a number of countries, not just to see Romania. Just a screenshot on TPPR. I think we are okay. We are the 6th country in the ranking. I think that qualifies us good in comparison to the other countries. But as you see, there are 2 major things that the ratings show as problematic. On one side, the transparency of procurement, and on the other side, the post-tendering phase, which means what happens with the contract after you finish the procurement phase. And I will refer to these 2 things in the next slides. I think there have been a lot of changes in the legislation. So when we discuss about the rating, some things were very different, and some are better, but some are worse. But I will tell you the most important things that's changed in the last, I don't know, half of a year. Related to our program on political clientelism, we look on 2 things, which are very related. I will talk mostly about procurement, but in 2011, when we started, we asked ourselves, which are the mechanisms through which political parties capture the public goods? So what are the means through which political parties abuse public resources? And we saw, when we started, we put 3 on the table. One is allocation for investment, roads, schools, money, national money. Of course, compared to the other countries, we have quite a different situation because we are in the EU, so we also have the European money. But I will talk mostly about the national funds. And these kind of allocations are in any countries. So practically all of your countries have kind of a system to which the government gives money, conditional money to the local level to build roads, schools, I don't know, plumbing and all this public plumbing and all these kind of things. So we started asking ourselves, okay, but how does these funds are going? Are they transparent, or how do the local communities get money from the center? And our answer, because I will give it to you now, was it is not transparent. So it's one of the main mechanisms through which the central and all the parties that were in power buy the local communities, the mayors practically. You give money to the mayor to give you votes and have power in the local level, at the local level. But the second question was, so where do the money go? Who gets the money? Is it transparent? Is it the same? I mean, are the rules clear enough? Is the procurement process transparent? And we search for these things: irregularities, manipulation of results, and serial winners. Practically some patterns to see where are the patterns in terms of irregularities in the system. Of course, what's very important, because we are frequently asked if somebody went to jail because of our research, we are not prosecutors. So we just put data, public data together, a lot of data, starting from procurement, data on companies. We even started working a little bit with beneficial ownership ourselves, gathering a small database, party financing. So we put all this data together. And just very short, we build this index of clientelism, which means the sums that the mayors in power get over mayors of opposition. And we have this kind of research also in Moldova and for Georgia. Actually, our partner in Georgia was the IDFI. And very short, what it means, if the allocation would have been transparent and fair, the line should have been straight. But as you see, these are, I don't know, money for roads, emergency funds, all these kind of investments. The top, where you see in 2000, that's 2007, for example, the mayors in power got 3 times more money than the ones in opposition. So this means that this shows that this is a tool to buy local mayors. And we also have some maps. Again, we have the same maps, so now we can find them on our website, which is called expertforum.ro. We also have, these are funds that were received at the local level for this kind of development funds, also for Moldova and Georgia. But when it comes to procurement, because this is the topic of the presentation, we started looking at, okay, who gets the money? This is just national money. So as you probably heard, when you are handling European money, is a little bit harder to steal. I'm not saying that we don't have problems, but the sanctions are much harsher than for the national money, which is kind of weird. For example, the main tool that I was showing you is called the National Development Program. The sum was, in 7 years, 10 billion euros. So from the center to the local level, the parties gave 10 billion euros, which is huge. And we started looking on these companies, first just data. So we just took the data from the official portal. In terms of, let's say, public data, we are, let's say, okay-ish. Practically all the procurement have to pass through the official procurement portal. So we, at least recently, we have open data. The quality is another discussion, but at least we have the data. So we saw, this is just for a quarter of the country. We didn't manage to make the analysis for the country, but 30 to 50% of the winners were not published in the official portal. Although, so we have a law, it says that you have to publish when you start a procedure and when you end the procedure, but up to 50% were lost somewhere. So they just published the start of procedure, but not the winner. Which this is a major problem. You don't know who got the procurement. It was even funnier because for some of those who were published, we asked on FOIA, on public information, and they gave us other winners. So we have 2 sets of winners. We don't know who won some of the procurement. And on the other side, let's say in one county, we have 41 counties. there were 100 companies who got something. And in each of the countries, in each of these countries, 50% of the money went to 5 or 6 companies out of 100. So the data is there. I mean, the problem with the 30–50%, it's, let's say, up to 2016. In the past 2–3 years, it's more transparent. So we didn't find that problem. But, I mean, you have the data, but on the other side, this shows you that half of the contracts go to 5 out of 100 companies, which shows you there's a monopoly. And we, afterwards, we take a look at all these companies to see who own. It's kind of a beneficial ownership analysis, if you want. And they are either connected to political parties, either, I don't know, relatives. In terms of conflicts of interest, let's say we are kind of better because one of the conditions to enter in the EU was to have a national integrity agency, and in the past years, the problems are not that big. I don't know, 10 years ago, the mayor would have given the money to the wife or son, and actually we had one mayor who said, if I don't trust my son to build the road, who can I trust? So this was the logic. But we also have companies who are convicted for fraud, for example, bribery, which shows you that at the local level, on the one side, you have a monopoly. And in certain cases, this monopoly becomes natural. Other competitors don't want to go to the competition because they know they will not win. I mean, there is a competition. It is published, but companies don't go because they know they don't have a chance. And this, for example, in 2018, we had a huge number of canceled procurement. We don't know if it's fraud, if it's lack of capacity, or it's the lack of competitivity. You don't have company who compete. Just, you don't have to see the numbers, but this is one of the counties. As you see, there are 4 or 5 companies. On the left is, if you get very few money, you are on the left, on where most of the bubbles are. But if you are one of those 5 companies, you are on the right. So you can see the differences are huge. I mean, it's, the differences are very big. And we mostly look at those companies who are on the right because they got a lot of money, and as I was telling, the reasons are quite clear. What we also do is also confront specialists. So we go present these results to public procurement experts, and they always tell us, yes, but these are big companies with a lot of employees who have a lot of experience. Yes, but we took a look on them. I will go back to this one. We took a look at the biggest companies in constructions, for example, because this is mostly on procurement on constructions. And we took a look at their history. And at one point, all these companies had something political in their history. So there was either a decision of the government, either someone who created the company. So at one point, something gave them the advantage. Yes, they are big, but how did they get there? Also going back to some systemic issues that we found, and this is also related to the rating, insufficient control on procurement and contracting. Since 2016, we had the new law because of the procurement directive, the EU procurement directive, and a lot of things change. Let's say mostly in a good sense. But one of the things which must be discussed is the ex ante control, which means that the procurement agency has to control the procurement before you start it to see if it's okay. And for example, in December 2018, after Christmas, the government issued an emergency ordinance, which is kind of a law issued by the government, and it's published, it creates effect as a law. And they said, okay, all the ex ante control should go to the contracting companies, not to the institution that handles procurement. But they have no employee, they have no money, so they received a lot of contracts. Okay, check them, but who will check them? Nobody knows how to do this. They changed their minds after a few months. Also, they reduced the number of contracts that are controlled. For example, last year there were around 18,000 contracts, and just 1,200 were checked before, which is very few of them. Also, we believe there is also a lack of institutional capacity. I mean, people who don't have the capacity to organize the procurement, you can see from it's not always fraud, but sometimes you really see that they cannot write the conditions for procurement. Also, the law says that you have, for some products, you have to do centralized procurement. But since we have an institution, but the only procurement, I think, in 3 years was some paper, and it's not even finished now. So we don't have a capacity to do centralized procurement, which should make prices smaller because you buy for, I don't know, 1,000 institutions or something. Also, I was telling you about frequent changes to the legislation and political decisions. In the past year, there are a lot of them. The one I gave you earlier, it's just one of the examples about changes. But the problem is that they are just political. They don't think about the real people who do procurement, about the capacity. So it's just political decision to, I don't know, bring some taxes, bring some money, or to change something, but without thinking on a long term. Also, what we observed, as I was telling you that we are a special case in terms that we are in the EU, the national funds are more vulnerable. So we see more temptation to let's say, steal from national money than from the EU funds. Because from the EU funds, the controls are worse and you go to jail more years if you get caught. Okay, I will try to be a little faster. Another thing that we saw from the analysis of the data and where we thought that there are clues of corruption, we asked ourselves, we also talked to prosecutors, to people who work on procurement, and asked ourselves, what happens to the money which are stolen, or the procurement who are fixed? And everybody was saying that they are going to the party. But our conclusion is that they are going for the personal use. A small part goes to the party, but not, people don't steal for the party. Mayors don't steal for the party. I don't know, ministers don't steal for the party. They steal for themselves and give something to the party because they have to be backed when they steal again. And also we saw something else which is interesting. Sometimes you see people who are enemies, political enemies, who have business together, you know, in a long term. You look in 10 years and you see them in TV, you know, this is the enemy, they are stealing money, but you see, they are doing business together, you know. And another interesting thing, just by very short, is not very visible, but we managed to see another, let's say, another pattern. You know, usually, so the money goes from the government to the local authority, who give money to the contractor. But recently, there are a lot of also journalistic investigation and also from our conclusions that in many cases, strong companies call the minister to give money to the municipality who gives them money to the procurement. So practically, it's not the municipality or, I don't know, the ministry who takes the decision, but is the strong related company at the local level, which kind of, it's a huge inversion in the logic of procurement. The company decides who gets the money. And I would just wanted, in the end, I would just wanted to show you a little bit of what we saw related to those companies I was telling you earlier. So we took some of the major companies in constructions, for example. We took let's say the beneficial owner, not the owner, because it's not always the owners in the papers, you know. And we overlap it, we saw who the person is connected to, the party, and we overlap it with the government period of that party. So as you see here, that's the procurement curve. The higher, the more money. The lower, there are no money. So practically, you see that this company who is connected to the Democrat Party in Romania got a lot of money when the party was in power. Afterwards, it didn't disappear, but they got a lot of less money. Again here, this is even more visible. Again here. Again here. And there are a lot of these examples. So just to draw the line, on one side, related to the rating, we think is very useful because it allowed us to see where some of the vulnerabilities are in the procurement system. But on the other side, we have managed to see that even though you have the law is very clear and it says that you have to publish everything, you have to have open data and all these kind of things. In reality, things are very different. And sometimes it's not even corruption. It's just clientelism, and it's about bending the rules. So what you see here is mostly, of course, there are corruption cases. Some of these people were in jail or were convicted. But it's about bending the rules. And what I think is very interesting to see where these vulnerabilities are. Because where is corruption, bribery, this is clear. Everybody has it each country has a criminal code. But it's interesting to see where, for example, this kind of behavior appears, or where you have clientelism in giving the money and you have a deal with the company, all these kind of things. If you're interested in more, this is very short, usually I speak 3 hours about it, but if you're interested more about these maps and all this analysis, you can find it on expertforum.ro. So sorry if I was too long.
Thank you very much, Septimius, for your very interesting presentation. And now I'd like to go to Kuanysh and ask him to give a presentation about TPPR in Kazakhstan, because, well, there have been advocacy visits in Kazakhstan as well, and Kazakhstan government have also taken commitments to change their procurement system. So please, Kuanysh, can you update us about the processes going on in Kazakhstan in that regard? Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for his invitation, and thank you, IDFI, for choosing our organization as a partner for this project. So our organization is called Zertteu. We are working on the budget transparency, public procurement, and anti-corruption issues. And now I will tell you about public procurement system in Kazakhstan. I will do my presentation in Russian, but presentation will be on English. Что касается закупок в Казахстане, то у нас, it's not working. It's just a PDF. So, yeah.
I think you just hit this button. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Что касается закупок, тема форума посвящена в том числе коррупции, и в Казахстане в 2018 году было совершено более 2500 коррупционных преступлений, и четверть из которых пришлись на сектор госзакупок, поэтому прозрачность в сфере госзакупок очень важна, и как раз данный рейтинг позволяет работать в этом направлении и позволяет снижать такие коррупционные риски. Что касается Казахстана, то у нас с 2015 года существует портал, единый портал госзакупок. Все закупки происходят электронно через этот портал, и все данные на этом портале в масштабочитаемом формате. Стоит отметить, что вот если сравнивать с другими странами, с Кыргызстаном, например, что по функционалу, по открытости наш портал далеко продвинулся вперед и постоянно обновляется, и появляются новые возможности для анализа, новые возможности для мониторинга. И что касается рейтинга TPPR, то согласно нему у Казахстана 74 балла из 100 возможных, мы на 12 месте. И с точки зрения предоставления данных мы даже были немножко поражены, то что практика на самом деле лучше, чем теория, то есть лучше, чем законодательство само. То есть на практике мы делаем больше, чем законодательство нам позволяет. То есть в законодательстве меньше каких-то полномочий дано и меньше говорится об открытии каких-то тех или иных данных, но портал дает такую возможность. И самая проблемная область – это вот post-tendering phase, посттендерный этап. У Казахстана слабые позиции. И если говорить о проблемах, которые были выявлены согласно вот этому при подготовке этого индекса, то основная проблема для Казахстана – это то, что большая часть закупок происходит из одного источника, около 70%, то есть неконкурентным способом. Это очень большая доля, И у нас в законе есть 59 исключений для того, чтобы совершить закупку напрямую с одним поставщиком. И еще одна проблема большая, то что наш закон не распространяется на нацкомпании. У нас очень большая доля нацкомпаний, и они растут как на дрожжах. И вот закон, к сожалению, он не имеет силы на них, и нацкомпании работают по своему законодательству. У нацкомпаний есть свои порталы, которые более закрыты и менее открыты. Еще одной проблемой большой является то, что вот по поводу жалоб. В TPPR очень много вопросов посвящено именно жалобам, обжалованию тех или иных закупок, и в Казахстане нет независимого органа, который рассматривал бы эти жалобы. То есть в Грузии, например, в комитет, который рассматривает жалобы, входит 3 представителя гражданского сектора, 3 представителя госучреждений. В Казахстане, к сожалению, гражданское общество никак не представлено. Соответственно, это говорит немножко о том, что могут решения приниматься однобоко. И я говорил о том, что у нас полностью автоматизированная система, но, к сожалению, есть такая проблема, которая очень значительно снизила балл в этом рейтинге. Чтобы получить токен для доступа по API, нужно бумажно принести в Министерство финансов заявление. То есть даже если ты находишься в другом городе, ты должен отправить через почту именно бумажную версию своего заявления. И мне кажется, это какой-то парадокс к тому, что для того, чтобы получить такие данные открытые, ты должен доисторическим способом, грубо говоря, добиваться этого. И это значительно снизило наши показатели. Что удалось достичь? Да, как Дэвид сказал, представители IDFI приезжали в Астану 18 марта вместе во главе с Георгием. Я хочу обратить внимание на то, что я не зря выделил там слово «Астана». Это было 18 марта, и, может быть, случайно, не случайно, но 19 марта Астану переименовали. Может быть, делегация приехала с другой целью в Казахстан. К сожалению, пока нам не удалось добиться открытости, прозрачности и внедрения всех принципов TPPR в законодательство в сфере госзакупок, но столицу переименовали. И какие основные плюсы от TPPR можно выделить? Я для себя выделяю то, что Дэвид сказал, то, что это создает какую-то конкуренцию, но мне кажется, это больше вместе с конкуренцией, это больше про обмен опытом, потому что когда делегация приезжала, когда мы обсуждали, мы, кстати, встречались с главой антикоррупционной службы и представителями Минфина, они нас выслушали, и в качестве примеров мы приводили успешные примеры внедрения или решения проблем в Грузии, Украине, в Армении, потому что Армения, вот, например, это одна из, кажется, единственная страна из TPPR рассчитываемых, в которой орган, который рассматривает жалобы, все это проводит в онлайн-режиме, выкладывает все на YouTube, и вот таким образом декларирует прозрачность. И вот основное достижение и основное преимущество TPPR – это обмен опытом и внедрение лучших практик в свое законодательство стран, которые рассчитывают этот рейтинг. И TPPR очень сильно помогает адвокатировать, потому что вот полученные результаты наглядно демонстрируют существующие проблемы, и сравнивая другие страны, можно при встрече с Министерством финансов указывать, что вот есть такой способ, который позволяет устранить эту проблему. И кроме этого, мы также пытаемся создать такое комьюнити людей, которые занимаются вопросами госзакупок. И если нам не удается, например, Мы, к сожалению, не вступили в OGP, как Кыргызстан и Грузия, и нам сложнее продвигать изменения в сфере госзакупок. Но мы проводим школы для журналистов. И, например, я сказал, что у нас очень много закупок из одного источника. И мы на этих школах учим журналистов вообще процессу госзакупок и учим работать с порталом для того, чтобы они находили кейсы, рисковые кейсы, чтобы они освещали эту проблему, и чтобы чем больше будет такого освещения, тем вероятнее изменится законодательство в лучшую сторону, чтобы не было такой лазейки коррупционной. И мы вот считаем, что вот это один из инструментов того, чтобы продвигать результаты TPPR. И что касается prospects, мне кажется, нужно больше сотрудничать с госорганами, то есть, или, как Чингиз говорил, есть индекс открытости бюджета, в котором участвуют в том числе Министерство финансов, госорганы, которые до момента публикации данных могут ознакомиться с этими данными, внести какие-то свои коррективы. Можно было рассмотреть такую возможность, чтобы в этом отношении сотрудничать и, может быть, что-то взять из EITI, где есть борд заинтересованных сторон, и сделать что-то такое. После этого улучшать методологию, то есть, как Вадим говорил о том, что можно стандарт open contracting вводить и вот работать над улучшением методологии. И увеличить количество стран. Я уверен, что вот уже Дэвид сказал, что количество стран растет, и я уверен, что оно будет расти, и чем больше стран будет, тем больше у нас будет положительного опыта, тем больше мы сможем обмениваться проблемами и успешными решениями. Кроме этого, по методологии я хотел бы отметить еще то, что как-то нужно рассмотреть возможность включения анализа системы госзакупок госкомпаний, если это будет возможно, потому что это у нас для Казахстана это очень актуально, и очень значительная часть госзакупок проходит через сторонние порталы. Вкратце все. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Kuanysh. Yeah, the same problem is in Georgia as well, because state-owned enterprises are kind of removed from the rule from the law. So it's a kind of a problem, a big problem, because well, a lot of procurement volume is kind of is not covered by the law. But what I wanted to ask each of the participants, if you may, it's a little bit strange. For example, in Ukraine, according to the latest report which I read, with the legislation, everything was okay. I mean, legislation was kind of going forward fast and well, and everything was kind of well with it, but the problem was with the institutional capacity, was lagging behind. And Kuanysh said that, on the other hand, the practices kind of I would say, overtaking the development of the legislation. So how is it in this sense in Ukraine and in other countries? So could you tell us a little bit about the institutional capacity? How has it changed? Has it kind of has there been any development in that regard? I don't know, maybe you can tell us, Khrystyna.
So according to institutional capacity in Ukraine, one of the main changes in new law on public procurement is about centralization, improving the centralization procurement procedures, because for this moment this institution wasn't so developed. Yes, we had a project by Cabinet of Ministry of Ukraine when the Cabinet of Ministry register or create public procurement entity that responsible for centralized procurements that named professional procurements, and the main task of it was to give this service for near 17% of ministries of Ukraine. But there is also a request for this service on the local levels, and this is the main task for the future in Ukraine. The another task is professionalization. For these 4 years, TI Ukraine and Ministry of Economic Development and state-owned enterprise ProZorro, every year we help to study to improve some skills, practical skills, best practices in procurements, and not only in procurements but also in contracting cooperation with suppliers to give more efficient services, goods and works for taxpayers, because it's also a very big problem for today. And maybe not only in Ukraine, but also in Georgia and in other countries. In EU law is a very big question about responsibility of procurement entities, their administrative responsibility in Court of Administrate responsible of Ukraine says that level of fines are increased, and there are a lot of strong
Punishment?
Yes, punishment. So maybe all this will have some influence on institutional capacity in Ukraine in public procurement sphere, but the most important question, according that has connect with your question, is professionalization. Is every time will be the most important in public procurement sphere, because as Victor says, according to the quadrant of Michael Friedman, procurement entities, the servants of procurement entities don't understand they buy something for themselves also, for their money, because every our taxes are used in public procurements and we buy for ourselves something. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khrystyna, for your answer. Well, I don't know if anybody has any questions from the audience. Please be so kind as to participate. Yeah, please.
My question is to Chingiz about Kyrgyz Republic. There was feedback availability and it was in green. Can you explain what feedback it is and whether it's structured, whether it's from civil society, and that's my question.
So on the website there is like a feedback module, which, for example, I can write my name, surname, and also choose the theme, and then I can write my suggestion, or I can ask question to the department, and department has to give answer. Also was opened call center. For example, in 3 months was about 10,000 calls to call center. So people can also call to department and take answer to their question.
Yes, Victor?
Very interesting panel. and very interesting experience of 4 countries like Kyrgyz Republic, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Romania. All of countries have pretty advanced procurement systems, and all countries disclose data. And in fact, we see that 3 out of 4 presented countries are great examples of citizens' engagement and participation. Romania, Ukraine, Kyrgyz Republic, a lot of data use stories, a lot of scandals, a lot of protests. But obviously, like, to be honest, my favorite digital procurement system worldwide, I saw a lot of systems, is Kazakh system. Like, in terms of digitalization, it is really advanced. But in terms of data use and engagement, you are like a little bit, yes, to say so, behind of your panelists. So can you like describe what are your plan to motivate people to use the data, to engage citizens, and actually to come for this involvement, not only to develop good systems? Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's a very good and question, because in Kazakhstan it's not dependent on public procurement or other system. In Kazakhstan we are civil society. На русском можно отвечу. У нас это не касается только госзакупок, очень слабое участие населения в каких-либо процессах. И как добиваться того, что я говорил о том, что мы делаем школу для журналистов, но у нас потихоньку появляются материалы внутри страны. Может, они за пределы страны не выходят, но у нас есть уже достаточное количество кейсов, когда был резонанс в обществе. Например, хотели провести пивной фестиваль «Октоберфест» за бюджетные средства через портал госзакупок. И журналисты об этом узнали и отменили закупку. И количество кейсов таких растет. Я думаю, нужно работать в 2 направлениях. Во-первых, проводить какие-то школы, обучающие мероприятия, чтобы больше людей даже знало. Многие даже не знают о наличии этого портала, о его функциональных возможностях. Во-вторых, нужно создавать больше и больше каких-то адаптированных для точечных групп приложений и ресурсов, которые позволят получать информацию в удобном формате. Там, через Telegram или вот тоже про Red Flags, которые говорили на предыдущей сессии. Было бы, мы думали над этим, чтобы вот систему подобную Red Flags сделать в Казахстане, например. И вот чем больше будет таких инструментов, мне кажется, тем больше будет хороших кейсов, чем больше статей, тем больше общественного участия. Я надеюсь, ответил. Спасибо.
Извиняюсь, я могу тоже сделать предложение для IDFI. Вот Kuanysh затронул очень хорошую тему относительно согласования, да, результатов оценки с госорганом. Да. Но также хотелось бы предложить, вот как в индексе бюджетной прозрачности, вот раньше информационная система называлась Индаба, сейчас вот уже новая была создана система, где, допустим, я вот являюсь тем человеком, который делает observation, да, то есть исследование, делает оценку прозрачности бюджета. Я захожу в эту информационную систему, есть как раз такие ячейки, вопросы, я могу давать свои комментарии, могу указывать ссылки. Да, допустим, в последующем, получается, представитель международного бюджетного партнерства может комментировать мои, так скажем, находки или же мой ответ. Плюс к этому госорган имеет возможность в последующем давать свою оценку. Да? То есть все взаимоотношения происходят внутри одной информационной системы. Поэтому я бы предложил в будущем рассмотреть возможность вот эту перенять практику международного бюджетного партнерства и вот разработать такую информационную систему, которая позволит со всеми множеством стран, да, вести работу чуть ли не онлайн.
This is a very good idea, very important idea, and I think it has it is an idea that well, it's not. Ms. Tato mentioned, for example, that we have to move from reactive to preventive. I think it would be a good measure for taking a good idea to move to preventive measures. You know, when we can all discuss the budget issues, you know, and budget transparency issues, and to act together in like a concerted action, right? So I think it's a very good idea, and we can sit down and discuss this idea together. Thank you very much. Yeah.